So first of all, thank you that you took time for us, because I know that you are busy producing music all the time, and that you're very passionate about it, and that you take time. So thank you for it. So my first question is, I'll just write it down. Please, can you tell us a bit about yourself, where you're at right now, and how the situation with the pandemic, with COVID, just affected you actually a bit?
Yeah, man, like Quad Laboon, known as Robosonic as well. So I'm in Berlin, my studio in Kreuzberg. And yeah, I live with my music. So for now, the situation was rather staying home, staying in my place, and trying to just like get stuff done, write music, and get I don't know, just get a perspective out of this situation. So no house and techno parties at the moment, but I have to cope with that, and just like stay productive, and then hope at some point there's opportunity to just like show this to the world. No.
Does the pandemic right now, does it affect your music, like in the style? Did you maybe does it any kind of change in the way you do music?
There is actually like I produced some stuff that was rather like down tempo, rather hip hop inspired. My next single that is coming up is a feature with Be Real of Cypress Hill and Psycho Les of the Beatnuts. So this one is the slowest track I've done under Robosonic for ages. So generally, like I did have a moment of like lack of motivation to produce like more dance music when there's no outlet for it, when you don't go out and like can show it to the people. And then I went through all my projects, all my files, and was seeing like what was speaking to me, or what I wanted to focus on. And some of it was rather like down tempo, slow stuff, laid back, but also I produced a bunch of new bangers for like the house and techno dance floors.
Okay, nice. I have another question for you. Robosonic, we keep hearing your name, but we want to know like where the Robosonic, the name, comes from. So if you could
Sure. This is the history of that project. Is like it was a duo with Sasha Robotti, who moved away from Berlin like years ago, and he started a new life in the States. So back then, when we founded that, or like we started making music together for the first time, when we put something out, we kind of merged our names. I was going by the name of Schall, which is German for sonic or like sound. I did release a few records under that name, and then when Sasha joined, or like we founded that thing, we just like the first gigs we played, I think then we needed a name, a mutual name, and then we made it. I don't know, it came by an inspiration by that like Sonic the Hedgehog type thing. And then
nice.
This was actually the kind of the history. I think I have a record here. I'm not sure if I find it right now on spot, but it was a mashup, like a bootleg vinyl record that we pressed, the very first like Robosonic output that we ever came up with, and it had a label with this hedgehog on it, and there was this like, I don't know, some kind of running gag about that, the Robosonic.
But you did release, before saying Robosonic name, you did release a few tracks before without that name.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. So there was this Robosonic the Hedgehog. Those were more bootlegs, and then myself, I did a couple of like hip hop records before, and pressed my first like beat instrumental hip hop record when I was back in school, like when I was 18 or so. And then this project formed, and we did it together for a couple of years, and Sasha left, and I kept on going with that same style and that idea, or like developed it up to what it is now.
Okay, nice.
That brings me actually to another question close to that one, because you are a fusion producer and DJ, most producer. Can you explain what is a fusion producer? I mean, you explained a little bit already from now what you said about the vinyl and your background, hip hop. But can you just open a little bit more and tell us more about your fusion producing?
Sure. Sure, man. So I'm inspired really by hip hop music and hip hop production. This is how I came into like DJing and how I came into beat making. So that was my very like first lesson, not my first lesson in music, since I was like playing some instruments before, got like some piano lessons back then, and then played guitar for a couple of years, some drumming and stuff I did. But then when I was about like 14, 15 and was kind of over this phase of like a lot of like guitar music, I was hooked with hip hop music, and then the whole culture, and then yeah, this was how I got into it. And then from there I crossed over. When I moved to Berlin, I kind of crossed over into the electronic music, into house and techno, and then for years I was doing this over and over again, was like yeah, just like getting this more professional career and this audience of playing like raves and hip like house and techno. And then at some point this like the passion for that kind of music, like hip hop and rap, was always there, but then coming back into my production work, especially when I bought myself one of these in this case it was the vinyl control tractor mixer, and then I got that vinyl control element, or like the whole vinyl element back into my production. Started to do some like, I don't know, workouts of like scratches and stuff that you would rather hear in hip hop music, and just like infuse that into these hybrid hip hop house tracks. And then from there I invited some of these rappers that I bought records from. I invited them to write lyrics on top of a house beat, which was not like this hip hop house hybrid thing, wasn't like a brand new thing. It has existed forever, also in forms of like hip house and stuff in the 90s. But this form, or like I then doing it again and again with different people like EPMD, Master Ace, Jill the Damager, Big Shook, and these others. Always, yeah, there was a new spirit. I was researching their discography, their records, and was looking for samples from their own catalog, from their own music, and just infuse them into some like house grooves. And this is how I somehow, yeah, got this hip hop element into my house music. Yeah. And then also to get a balance when you're producing on a high energy level all the time. Like making a step back, or like in terms of tempo, and just like produce some more down tempo stuff and hip hop beats that would fit like a more classic like rap feel, was also something that at some point I could afford like to do, because I was free enough and like professional enough to not only focus on that one genre of like, okay, I'm making house tracks, which is of course a big part of my career, but I love that other stuff too, and now I have the feeling I have this full balance of I can do both. And yeah,
I think it's, for me personally, because I'm coming from a hip hop background, for me just the names you're actually working with, all these names are really like the roots of hip hop, and it's an own elementary culture. And bringing this both together is just amazing. Of course, it was before a lot of people are doing it, but I really like this style, how you connect these together, because some of these MCs are really legendary. They just need a couple of minutes to write some lyrics on it, and if you do a very nice beat with it, it's just amazing.
Yeah, that's it. Also, it's a challenge for. It's also a challenge for these rappers sometimes to get a new beat. So I invite them to the studio, and they more or less know that what I'm working on. But then I show them a few different options, but always try to challenge them to probably jump on the track that they haven't done yet. So this was like really interesting.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, like oftentimes, like Ra Digger was here, and she didn't know nothing. Like she didn't have time. She was on tour. She didn't have time to properly check the references that I sent before. And she just came in and realized that I was about to make a house track with her. And she was like, she came in halfway tired from touring and stuff. And then she like woke up and was like, yeah. She's coming from New Jersey, right? So she was like opening up, was like, yeah. No, it was really a nice experience because she's like really familiar with this music as like growing up in New Jersey and having this whole like music culture around. So there is like a lot of parallels and like a similar roots in terms of music and sampling, production techniques in between like hip hop and house and techno. So it's like when you look at the American approach to it, like the Detroit and Chicago and New York, New Jersey music, which I'm definitely like that whole context I'm more inspired by than say the UK house or something like this. Like when I came into music, or it was like hip hop culture, and it was like more I don't know, this like this side of the.
I got you, man. I know exactly what it is. I know it's just his flow is like this, you know.
So, like in your music genre, like who's the biggest influence for you then?
Yeah, good question, man. So I have my personal. Of course, I'm trying to hip hop wise. I'm trying to pull these big influences into my music right now, saying like these MCs and artists and producers that I used to listen to, or that have been the reason why I was buying vinyl records and got into DJing or so. So this is what I'm doing. So take a look at these names, plus a few more that I'm like working on and trying to pull them in. But on the like house and techno side of things, it's also like a whole world, like plenty of people that I could probably name, but there are not many that are really like that I was like looking up to over my whole like these years of getting into this business. There is a bunch of people that I have a lot of respect for. I always, like when I'm asked for a name, I always mention DJ Kotze or Cozy, because he is like a very open-minded and very headstrong, plus like entertaining, funny guy, and like with his skill set of making house music, making like techno music, playing crazy sets, sometimes like weird, and his whole range. And he's like, yeah, as I say, he's like headstrong, and then he does things unexpectedly. Or so I like generally I like when somebody has like developed a very own signature particular style. This is what I really respect. Mm-hmm. And then if there's someone that is doing things differently, like when you're like brave enough or like headstrong enough to just like not go with the norms and just like be experimental in a way.
Yeah.
So
yeah, fair enough. Okay.
This one. This is a good one because I'm always like to asking this question because was music your first choice, or let's say when you would not do music, Robo, what would you do? What would you do right now if you were not doing music? What was your first choice?
Oh man.
Huh?
It was my first choice. Still is. I grew up like I was lucky that my parents introduced me to music in a good way. So I got like like there were records around, like there was music around always. So there was like this cultural foundation like properly set, and I was lucky to be able to like learn some instruments early age. So I was. Yeah, so I'm really thankful about that, and that turned into my main passion that the career way I took when I was, I don't know, like I took a decision kind of early that I want to make records, but then also like living in Berlin, studying, whatever, I was taking the decision at some point, okay, at least I want to try it, because why not following that passion, which was so obvious, that I was spending all my time doing this instead of like studying like thoroughly or whatever.
You're lucky though that you have parents which actually, just let you do in your music, you study, but because that's why you're lucky, because there's so many young DJs and producers upcoming where the parents or the family just have nothing to do with music or not interested in any kind of. So I think you're very lucky to have a way like this,
Absolutely, man. I totally agree. Plus, I also had to like educate them or like convince them that I'm really like focused enough and like tedious or like what is it, like dedicated enough
Dedicated.
To just like go that route and just like get things going. And while I was like still in school, I was already on that, like, okay, I want to found a label and press my record. And so I was thinking in some way in a market sense of like making products, sell it to the people, give it out to the people, and make a name for myself.
Mhm.
So this was something that somehow I was breathing all the time. And so step by step, I could convince them, plus like a little audience, to just that this is the right way. So if I wasn't making music right now as a profession, there's a million other things that I imagine that I would be doing, but most probable is that is something creative, and that I would just be probably like pretty independent in what I'm doing, like self-determined, deciding like what I want to do, where I want to go with something, whatever it is. If it is, yeah, it could be anything. But I'm this kind of I have this bit of this like entrepreneurial mind state of like I want to do my own thing, and then I come up with an idea, and then if I get the chance to make something, I just do it. So this is like it could be like there was one moment when I invented this towel scarf thing. Like back then, it's like
we're gonna come to that later on. Yeah, we're gonna come to that.
Yeah, but I can tell you about this as well, because this is like 10 years ago now. I just realized that a friend and I came up with this idea, and then we produced it in Turkey, actually, close to Izmir. And then, so this is done in your country. And
I have one.
So
I have one from still me at home. Yes, I have one. Last time when he came to Portugal.
Next time I come, I'll bring some more.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this was like a moment in time when we just like came up with a new idea, or like a new product idea, and we just made it happen. And then it was like ever since, like it is going on. We're selling here and there, but it never became like my main business, because I could never dedicate myself to that, because I was like busy doing music. So there was always like the love needed to be put into the music to make that running and that working. I had to realize, and then this stayed with me as a side project, and still love it. So
you're still pushing it and everything.
Yeah, so this is it. It's just like but then if there was no music at that point, and this was that one spark, that one idea, okay, then I would have probably turned this into a proper label, or like some clothing merchandise business or whatever. But I'm like now happy to keep these things, like the textiles, or like the design stuff. I keep that on that like side track, just adding to my music, or my general like brand like system. Yeah.
Okay, nice. I have another question for you. We know that there is a lot of young. Sorry, can you hear us, by the way?
Yeah, all good.
There's a lot of young people who know about your name, and they know your genre, they know your music, and they want to get into this industry, and they're trying to produce, but there's always that guy who's trying to produce and can't finish the track, lacks discipline, and this and that. So we wanted to ask you, what like major advice would you give to producers, young producers, up and coming producers?
Right. There's no particular formula, but there's as I said before, like a mindset that will help you to just move on. So what I also what you have to expect, or just like accept, that is that sometimes there might be a lucky way into this whole thing and into this business. And this is some shortcut and some coincidence or some nice connection that just played well. But then there's the more natural and the longer way into this business or into this profession. And that means you have to gain a lot of respect from these people that are doing this for a long time already.
Okay.
You know, and this was very frustrating for me at a younger age, or for this previous episode when I was entering this whole business together with my my former partner, like that friend, that we started at a kind of a zero level. Nobody knew about us, but we understood we have some skill and like enough creativity and like that dedication to try things out. Yeah. And then we experienced like years sending out music, trying to get in touch with this and that, this and that. So sending out them, it was horrible. Honestly, like it was a lot of frustration involved, because you don't expect, or like you don't understand yet, for these people in these positions, how much work they have, how many people knock their door and want something, how many people will want to have an advice on this or that, and then you feel like badly treated, like not like taken seriously, like you're trying to get a word from someone and you don't even get a short reply saying, nah, not for me, not interesting, keep things coming, but I don't have time for this right now. Nothing. And because also, and this is also an experience that I made when people ask me these questions or get in touch and ask for something. You don't want to treat the people that you want to treat them right. No, you want to treat them good, and if you listen to a track, you want to give them feedback. But that also all takes time from your from the resources you have. So. So then it's a good opportunity to speak like in this form, like an interview to more people. But this is just an experience that is or like what I'm saying is this dedication and this patience and the understanding. You need to gain respect. You need to like up your skill up to a level that people will listen to you and like know, okay, you're somehow interesting to them. Also, what I don't like about this whole business, my personal opinion, is that there are so many, like, it's like a lot of times it's like this pyramid, you know, there's someone at the top, and then there's an army of people, or like a roster of people that build that pyramid somehow. And then exactly. So, and this is like happening a million times, like everybody's like trying to create a team or whatever, and then like you can try to work yourself up the ladder, and then whatever, at some point when you stuck or when you hit the ceiling, then you need to do your own thing or something, and then you try to do the same thing. So this is like how this industry somehow is built oftentimes, and this I don't know, this just can create some frustration as well. So on the one hand, what I like, my way through this was finding a way to like really be independent of all these other labels and structures, by just finding like a way to put my music out myself, and then put a high like quality control on it, so that whenever when you put something out, you want to be it something special and relevant that you would think like, okay, in 3 years or whatever, in how much time, you could still like look at it and say like, okay, this was a moment in time. You don't have to like be fond of it or whatever, but you should think a little bit like, if I put something out, this is under my name, which I want to grow on a long term or something, then just like it should be good. So at least like try the best. So this is something, but then also you shouldn't shy away from getting in touch with people, getting opinions, and try things out with your audience. And if something is working very well, it might work for other people, might work for these like professionals you're aiming at, you would want to release on these labels or whatever. So, but the independence on the other hand, just doing your thing and grow from there, is another nice way to stay also in control of your identity, say, or like your
Personality.
creativity. Yeah, because this is something, and this is the last sentence for this, or like the last advice, but probably the most important, that in this vast sea of music and artists, like this idea to do something special and to stand out is something that doesn't come from the very beginning, because it's like just not possible that you like just enter something and then you already found your style or whatever. But this is something you should always keep in mind. And if you find some detail that you would connect to your personality, then you can play that out and like repeat it in some way and gain on it. Okay. That's it.
Nice.
I just have to restart the camera. Just 1 second. Yep.
Because I know you go, before the pandemic, you go a lot to gigs around the world. And let me ask you, what was the funniest experience you ever had while on tour or on a gig? Or you just say, oh, that was hilarious?
Oh, man. I don't know.
If there's so many funny things, just use the funniest one.
This is actually, it's not that much fun. No, there's a lot of like, I can think of more fuck ups and bad situations and like stuff that you don't want to live through again.
I mean, if you want, you can tell us about that. For us, you know, I don't know. It's up on you. You want to talk about it? It's up on you, man.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking if there's something coming like to my mind, because this is a funny thing, because I first think of all the things that went wrong, but also this is partly not so interesting. Of course, there are bizarre and absurd stories, but top of the head right now, let's just move on to the next question and I might get back onto
it. What is the best thing you can do to interact with the crowd? What is something you can do? What is, say, this is a dance?
You mean in a live, like in a gig situation?
Yeah.
Or yeah. Well, me personally, like when I was performing in a team and being like two DJs playing on one DJ setup, probably with 4 CDJs or whatever, but then you have more time to actually interact with people, I remember from that time. So I think I was more quirky on stage and like doing more like fun stuff and stupid stuff and just like running around or like just like hang out with people on the I don't know, doorstep or like on the fence or whatever, like doing just like spend time with the people in some way, or with the people that surround you in the booth or so. So there was a more social element to it. And I was like more, say quirky, like jumping around and like having interaction. And then since I'm playing all by myself with these 4 CDJs and like having my setup and a lot of music that I would probably just like want to find, and I don't know, just like my interaction with the audience is at the moment, like how I perform right now, is very much based on the music, on the output, plus my way of just like working it. So people might see that or like look at it or whatever. So this is something that I get to hear oftentimes, that people would just probably just like watch more what I'm doing, because I'm not that much this hands in the air and throwing, I don't know, fireworks and cakes and I don't know.
Everybody's
so it's I could imagine to do it, or have a more extrovert live show at some point, but also it's about the music. It's about like me and the music, that relation, and the relation between the music and the people. So somehow, of course, like I talk to, like not I talk to people, but I interact with people, of course, when I'm there. But the interaction also it's before and after the show. So whenever you with the people actually like hanging out and speaking to like just like or taking pictures or whatever happens. So in my case, this is how I do it, and sometimes I'm more lively, but sometimes I'm just like focused.
Speaking of phases, by the way, because we know that DJs and producers, they have a really tiring, exhausting touring life, we can say. So you might play in a country, then you have to fly to another country, and you're really tired. So how do you like cope with this?
Yeah, at the moment I'm quite.
Not right now.
Not right now. Before.
So I remember different phases when it got really too much. When you could tell this is just like you're not as excited to play that next gig. You're not that like just like present when it comes to interaction, like talking to people, being picked up by people, being with the people, but rather like tired and dead. And then you go out to play a show, and then you're probably happy with the show or not. And then you next, like this is something that I experienced, and that whenever that happened, I was getting a little like nervous. If this is like how I could deal with it. And then sometimes in these moments, something happened, and then there was like a phase where it was a little less, and then it felt like okay, it's like not now playing every weekend 2 or 3 shows, but rather one, and then it feels a whole like different. Then you're out for the weekend, coming back, and you have enough time to just like get in a balance. So whenever it happens, how I cope with that is like trying to catch as much sleep as possible. I can sleep on airplanes, which is a big plus to stay alive, I guess. And then but for now, it's a whole different situation now. I have to cope with not being in this situation, which is going like good for me right now, because I did travel like more than 55 countries over the last years, and then you don't have the feeling of like this fear of missing out something at the moment. Also like this is like this is the situation right now. I just have to deal with it.
I understand you totally. Let me ask you, but I think this is a good question. How is your workflow? How do you develop your workflow when you're producing something? Do you have something already in mind, or do you get something out of it? Or you just hear something and then move on brick by brick? How you do it?
Right. Oftentimes I stumble when I listen to music. I stumble over a sample. So this is like the classic hip hop. You listen to music, then you get into this. I learned kind of early to listen to music in the sense of, what could I use of this song for myself? So like taking sounds or musical ideas from somewhere else. I somehow got that into my whole system pretty early, making beats with an MPC or whatever it was back then, and then this stuck with me. So this is like today still, whenever I hear music and I hear something that I like, I take a note, I record something, and then probably I save it in a folder, or I go like try something out with it right away and then have it saved, or just like move on when I'm really like getting excited. So this is definitely the case oftentimes, or like most just like maybe like half of the time. And then sometimes let me think, sometimes like when you got a new instrument or a new machine or whatever it is, I don't have that much hardware, but I have like this and that. Sometimes I borrow something from somewhere, and then you go into production, or you just start off, you kick off a jam session, trying something out and record some sounds. Sometimes I get into this challenge mode of, okay, I have a new tool right here, so I'm what can I do with it just out of this particular machine, for example. This could be like the challenge, and then you look through what it can do and find all the samples or the sounds that you would need to create somewhat a beat or a particular mood, like musical piece, whatever. And then within that process, you always have to take a decision at some point. Okay, tempo-wise, what direction does it go to? Like, is it rather something 4 to the floor, up tempo house? Is it something more laid back, or something without a tempo at all first? And then you just have to lay the idea down to a certain tempo and then figure out later. Mm-hmm. So. And like as I said before, workflow in this case is of a rapper coming to town and I have the opportunity to invite someone over. Then I would like dig into the records he made and then try to find something or find the spirit of this artist in his own music, and then try to just like flip it into my style, or like add something from my world, and then have like create this hybrid. So sometimes it helps to just like have that opening point.
We did speak about your beautiful merchandise that you were talking about. Like you made it.
Let's talk about this. Let's
get into that a bit more. Like,
man. So
out of the box and everything. So, like,
right.
Yeah, could you tell about that?
Yeah, so as I said before, like this was an idea. I was wearing towels all my life on stage, so it became a bit of a running gag, or trademark. I wouldn't say trademark at that point, but it was just like happening. I was like sweating as a pig, and then I would like get myself enough towels, always carried them to the stage, and then like left it somewhere. And at some point, we came up with this idea of making it a scarf. Mm-hmm. And find the right production partner for it was always done in Turkey, and it was always, or like the first edition not, but then later on it is all like organic cotton, so it's like all fair and organic. We started off with like black and yellow as two colors, and then it moved on. Like meanwhile, we have a few collaborations with Steel for Talent or other labels or events and stuff. And then, we made probably 12 or 13 colors. Right now we have a new production run in the making. So so we just decided to not like let it down now in times of crisis or whatever, but like move on and just like make a new one. So because it was always much fun and love involved. And then regarding the, so this brand is called Punchy, the toweling scarf it is. And then we have an online shop, punchy.de. And then with my label Outtakes, which is my like outlet for my own music, like digitally. Then also I took a decision to just like try out some merchandise innovations or whatever, something that I would want to wear. And I came up with this idea, this concept of using my favorite old t-shirts that were worn out, like that I like wore to death, and then that I couldn't still like throw away. And then I took those, and the Outtakes logo is just like this big square, the big O.
Nice.
And then I took those, like I got myself a tailor to do it. Like I bought just like fair trade organic shirts, like pullovers and like sweatshirts and t-shirts. And then I took all my old, like all the worn out stuff that I liked, plus from my team, like Rob, my social media manager, and like the label manager of Outtakes, was giving me a lot of like old hip hop shirts that he just like wore over the time. I just show you. I show you some. Okay. Just a random pick. So I'm wearing my old I Love New York t-shirt, which did have this heart in here, but it was completely washed out over the years. I bought it when I was 18. I bought it in New York at my first trip to New York, and yeah, so it was really done. So we have the EPMD Strictly Business, which is great. It's too small for you. It's just an L. You need that big boy shit. We got the group home.
Oh yeah.
So this one goes to Lydia, team member.
I really like
Where
it.
did the others go? Man, I had
I really like it. Those really nice.
Yeah, well, there's a bunch of them. So little by little, I start wearing them myself, or the next production run. So I don't want to move the camera right now, but there's a big pile of stuff, both like old T-shirts, brand new T-shirts and sweatshirts, plus that stuff that I made before. It became a bit of a it's just like that T-shirt laboratory over there in this corner of my studio. A bit messy.
I want to ask you final, before we close the interview, what I think is very important. Do you have some upcoming tracks in the next couple of months, or can you tell us a little bit more about what is your game right now? So how you?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I have some stuff with labels that were like postponed. That was postponed. So I did have one on Defected scheduled for May, I think. April, May, and this was like postponed because it was part of a Ibiza, what was it, like a compilation type thing, like 2 or 3 tracks. And so it was postponed. I still have that track coming on Defected, but I just don't know when. I have Armada Subject definitely in the schedule for October. Plus, we have a tune in sample clearance right now, which we all hope that's going to happen, because this was going to be a serious.
You can't tell us about it.
One.
You can't tell us about it a little bit.
I won't, because otherwise it'll be like. It is. I played it out. I probably played it out at the event that when I came to play for you. And that is the one everybody's asking for, and it is the one that
okay.
And like literally, like we've had like A-list people like haunting us for that we should give it out to play it out, but we just like had to like keep the shit together, because it already leaked. Like it was once played out. And then it was like there was an upload on SoundCloud and shit random people. So so this is just like that. This is the verified hit.
You have to be patient and wait for it.
Yeah. We already wait for it for a while. It was it does have a history, so it definitely does have a long history. And once this is happening and it's really coming out, I will tell the whole story about it. I'll get back on your interview then. And then I have this, it's called High Like. It's this Corona stoner boogie, I called it. It's the one with Be Real and Psycho Less. It's a full-on like trippy, like it's coming out very soon. Like we have it scheduled for July. I'm pretty sure July 14th.
Okay. That's fine.
Like another nice like hip hop feature, plus this little it was a good timing to put it out. It was just like coming together, everything nice cover artwork. Definitely a recommendation. Then there's Chitan made a remix for the People on Armada Subject, which is coming out next. This is now June, and this track sitting with Defected, don't know yet. And then I have plenty more. I have that one with Radiga, which we're about to schedule, but let's go step by step.
Yeah, so many things.
Really exciting though, man. Very nice.
So yeah, I mean,
this like we ended the questions here, and honestly, thank you for joining us today.
thank you for
Cool, man.
It's a great pleasure talking to you, man.
Of course.
Yeah. And
Best.
hopefully, when this Corona stuff's over, we'll host you back here
Yeah,
again,
man.
and see you around, and yeah.
Istanbul love, man.
Yeah.
My people.
Thank you very much, man, for taking time for us.
So in the meantime, I'm gonna try to learn some more Turkish.
Yes.
Also I actually have a nice like hip hop related project going on in my blog here. Like I'm working on a record which is like properly like rap and hip hop stuff, and we're gonna do some like workshops and offerings for the kids actually to learn about like DJing and beat making and stuff. So this is gonna happen over the summer. Right now, like many of these like offerings for the kids to do something are just like limited or not happening or whatever. So I work with an NGO on that project on that end, and we're gonna put together like build a little like studio space in a like not far from here. It's like a 2-5 minute walk from my place, and there's a little just like a it's like
call it right time, something like this, where the kids are.
What is it?
Something like where the kids can all be together. You mean?
Exactly, like where we can host like mentorings, like workshops, little like sessions, and they have a basement, and this will be probably the music space where they just can hang out, listen to music. We're gonna provide them with some instruments and maybe like a little studio setup, like.
Keeps them
so that they just can spend their time there and just get creative, and then from time to time I'm gonna go there and like teach some people when they're interested, and just be there to support, and like each one teach one type, like pass on that knowledge, and see where it goes. Like we're gonna see like what kind of music they want to make, but I suspect they're gonna go for the rap and hip hop stuff rather than anything else. Yeah. And that's all good with me. So it's gonna be an exciting project.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah,
very good. Good to give something to the kids, and maybe keep them even
in
the streets, and just give them a right way to just do music. It's amazing. It's very good, man. Very nice.
Cool. That spirit. Love, peace, unity. Turkey. See you soon, man.
Thank you very much for taking time, man. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
One love. Peace.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye-bye.